So this evening we are looking at questionnaires, some of the issues that we need to know about questionnaires. And some of you, for your research, are going to use already existing questionnaires. There are questionnaires that are standardized. So I will advise that as you prepare your proposal, that priority should be to use questionnaires that are already existing. There are standardized questionnaires. And then, of course, sometimes you need to contextualize those questionnaires so you can adapt them to your context. So the learning objectives are to understand the questionnaires' cultural, psychological, economic, and political context, and to learn how to ask valid questions and how to ask them correctly. So first question, what is a questionnaire? So it is a tool for collecting information to describe, compare, or explain an event or situation, and knowledge, attitudes, behaviors, and all social demographic characteristics on a particular target group. Whatever research question you have, I think the majority of you will have individuals as participants. So concerning those participants, you may require to obtain information which you can then be able to use to explain a situation. Some will have studies that looks at knowledge, attitude, and behaviors, and those are quite common amongst undergraduate students. Very important components when you are collecting data from individuals is to collect social demographic characteristics, as they are very important. Many times these influence people's behaviors, they influence health outcomes, they influence utilization of health services. These social demographic information can have a bearing on health outcomes. For example, if you're going to collect data concerning economic status of an individual or employment status, that may be linked. In fact, economic status, employment status has been linked to high morbidity and high mortality. We know the difference between morbidity and mortality. What is mortality and what is morbidity? Alfred. Is Alfred there? Anybody to help?
Mortality, we look at the deaths or the death rates, the occurrence of deaths, and then mortality, we look at the cases, like the occurrence of cases or diseases.
Excellent. Okay, so when you talk about mortality, we're talking about death. When you talk about morbidity, we're talking about diseases. So the general format for questionnaires, there's what is known as self-administered, and this must be the language that must come out in your proposal. When you explain how you're going to collect the data and the instrument you're going to use, how you utilize that instrument, it could be self-administered. Self-administered means that the participant The people that you're including in your study are the ones that are completing the questionnaire on their own. Now, that questionnaire can be sent to them via email, or it can be sent to them electronically via maybe WhatsApp, for example. You could even send a link to a questionnaire that you've put on Google Docs. Also, you can be able to ask questions to the participants and then they answer. There's this face-to-face where you are with the individual, and this is quite common in qualitative studies. You can do face-to-face. You can also use telephone, where you call them and you complete the questionnaire, which means that I have the questionnaire with me. I call the participant. I start asking questions. How old are you? They tell me, I enter that data. Okay, that's for face-to-face, the telephonic one. So I would be able to call and then I ask questions. So all of them have got advantages and disadvantages. Self-administered, sent by email, for example, or sent to a WhatsApp group. Those ones, the disadvantage is the response rate. Only a few will complete that questionnaire. But if you have to go into a classroom, for example, if I'm doing a study on students, I can have questionnaires, physical questionnaires, and give them out to all the students, and they complete while I'm there waiting. So issues concerning the questions or items. So a questionnaire will have different questions, and those questions are called items. So it is important to know how to ask these questions in written and also spoken form. Okay? Why is that important? Because the way you're going to ask the questions will determine the answers. So you don't want the questions to be leading. You don't want the questions to be driving people to answer in a particular way. Okay? We want the questionnaire to be independent so that that person that is completing the questionnaire, they are as objective as possible. So things, when we look at the context of the questions, first you need to identify the questionnaire's specific purpose. What is this questionnaire expected to do? What kind of information is it expected to capture? So you need to have specific objectives of the questionnaire. So everything must fall together. From your title, what you're going to talk about in your introduction must be related to the title. The aim of the study must be related to the title. The objectives will be a breakdown of the main aim, and all are related to your title, okay, or your question that you're asking. Then also you need to know your respondents, the people who are going to be answering the questions. Why it is important? Because questions then have to be written in such a way that those particular target respondents are able to understand. A questionnaire that I will give to children aged 8 to 13 may be different to the one that I can give to adults, those above 18 years, 18 years and above. So you must know who your respondents will be and then contextualize those questions based on those age groups, based on those specific population. You need to standardize the interviewer What it means to standardize the interviewer means that, for example, you are collecting data from different butcheries in a community. So if you're going to use 4 persons to do the interviews, you need to train them on how to conduct the interviews. Why is that important? It's because in the end, you have to analyze all that data. It is one study. And hence, if one person is asking differently and the other one is asking differently, you may have different answers, and also the respondents may understand the questions differently. So you train. In epidemiology, what we do is that before we go and collect the data, we bring all those research assistants together. We have a workshop. It could be 1 day, 2 day, 3 day workshop for them to all understand the proposal, the protocol, and also understand the process and learn how to do the interviews or to collect the data. Okay, so also we need to standardize the response formats. Okay, so the way we've made the question and how we want the participant to answer should be the same across all participants. One way we can do that is to use the same questionnaire. You'll print it out for all the participants to use. So also ask questions in a social, cultural, and economic context. There are differences. When you talk about social, cultural, and economic context, there are other countries which are well developed. There are countries which are developing countries. So a question that may be relevant in Zambia to a participant may not be relevant to another person in another country because of these contexts, social, cultural, and economic context. Cultures differ. So a question which may be relevant in one culture may be irrelevant in another culture. Some questions may even be unacceptable in certain cultures. Okay, so keep confidentiality and voluntary participation, which means that on the questionnaire, you can't put a question whereby somebody may be identifiable. For example, cell number, for example, the name of the person. So make sure that in the end, if somebody comes across the questionnaires, they won't be able to link the responses, the completed questionnaire to somebody they know. Okay. And then also voluntary participation. This also under ethical consideration in your proposal or your research, you will have to add that people have to provide informed consent. Informed consent means they have understood what the research is about and they have agreed to participate. And you have also informed them that if they refuse to participate in the study, there will be no repercussions. For example, if I come to your class and I'm doing a study on how you perceive blended learning, I need to make it clear to you that you can choose to participate or not participate. I should inform you that if you refuse to participate, there will be nothing, no disadvantage that you will receive. So you won't be treated any differently from those who have participated. Participants need to feel confident to participate, to make a decision whether they want to complete the questionnaire or not. All right? So which means there should be no coercion. I shouldn't force you to participate in a study. Include a letter of introduction or presentation. So before you give a questionnaire out, You must have a letter which introduces who you are, where you're from, what the study is about, what is your expectation from them, and what's the benefit for you conducting that research. Please, if there are any questions as we go through, please feel free to ask. Also, where I feel that I need to ask questions, I will ask you. Okay? The good thing would be that you ask questions, right? If you're not asking questions, I will ask questions. Okay, so get ready. Let's see who goes first, whether it's you or it's me. So the format of questions, there are open questions. There are open questions, and also there are closed questions. There are open questions and there are also closed questions. The difference between the two is that the open questions, I'll ask something and then you explain. You say something about, you explain. While as closed questions, I'll give you options. Okay, for example, yes or no. If I ask you, for example, if you, maybe we're looking at perceptions, what are your perceptions on ABC? So I may put a rating scale and I ask you on a scale of 1 to 5, how do you rate your blended learning experience? So you can't go beyond the 5. You can't say anything else other than putting your circle on 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. So it's closed-ended. Yeah. We may want to look at, if you go around maybe supermarkets and we want to see whether they're compliant with issues they need to put in place to address possibility of fires. We want to find out, maybe, do they have extinguishers? We go around supermarkets to see how many have got extinguishers. So the response may be yes or no. Do they have? Yes or no. Okay, that is also closed-ended questions. So there are open-ended questions and the closed-ended questions. So one issue about open-ended questions, because people have different things to talk about, they are difficult to codify, to make codes. They're difficult to enter, and they're also difficult to analyze. Okay, codes, when people have presented issues, you must be able to start analyzing what they have said. And the first step, in fact, the first step in qualitative studies to come with codes. And then codes, you group them together to make them themes, and then you analyze those themes. So the whole process can be difficult. While as closed-ended questions, there's less information that you get. With open-ended questions, there's a lot of information you get. Okay, with closed-ended questions, there's less information, but they're easy to code, enter, and analyze. For example, where it's a yes or no, I can say that maybe 20 out of 30 supermarkets have got fire extinguishers, and I could say that it's 66% of all the supermarkets where the investigation took place, or where the study was carried out. Are we there?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. All right. So that's the main difference when it comes to open questions and closed questions. So your questionnaire can have only closed-ended questions for quantitative studies, or it can have a combination of closed and open questions. So the beauty of open-ended questions, is that they're able to elicit certain information from the participants which you cannot obtain from closed-ended questions. For example, we're talking about fire extinguishers, knowing whether they have or not is clear, but it does not provide more information. But if you ask, why don't you have fire extinguishers? It's an open-ended question, and then more information will come out. Okay? So that information that comes out from open-ended questions is very important for interventions that you, as an environmental health specialist, will have to put in place. Okay, we usually intervene, we usually go and do research because we want to act. We do research because we want to make their lives, people to live more healthy lives. Okay. You look at Zambezi Road, where our campus is, and then you check whether there's litter in the drains. Okay. Yes, there's a lot of plastic bottles in the drains along Zambezi Road. Okay. You may want to find out why there's so much plastic bottles and garbage in the drains. So you may find out that people may say, now that's an open-ended question. People may want to talk about poor garbage collection. There are no bins along the road. And so people don't know where else those bottles should be. Okay. And then you start planning how you're going to intervene. There are different mechanisms, there are different interventions that you can put in place. Some of them, behavior communication, behavior change communication. You may want to engage the council to provide garbage collection services, to provide bins. Way back, we used to have bins everywhere, and council would come and collect. And now, you will hardly see any bins anywhere. Okay, any question concerning open and ended questions, open-ended questions and closed-ended questions? Any questions?
Yes.
Go ahead, Mishak.
There are times when there's one time when I went to Kazungula district.
Yes.
Then we had, I think, mostly we had the closed questions. Then based on what I witnessed there, you find it's a yes or no question, but someone would want to, or the participant may want to give more information. In such a case, what do you as the person who is having those questionnaires?
Yes. So what you need to do is that when you make the questionnaire, at the end, you put to say any other comment, and then you can be able to, the participant can be able to write there, or if you're the one who is administering the questionnaire, you can be able to put down those comments. So those comments are very important because they back up those closed-ended questions. So you need to add that. Hello?
Yes, sir.
All right, you got my response? I don't know if I was audible because my phone was ringing. I'm using hotspot. Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Hello. We can get you.
You can get me? Yeah, so
Yeah,
make sure
we
that,
can.
so under your questionnaire, make sure there's space where you indicate any other comment. Please write it here. If the person, if the participants are expected to complete that. If it's you who is administering the questionnaire, then you can write down those extra comments that they give. They are very, very important and very, very informative. Okay, so we have less than a minute because I'm using the free Zoom. So I will send another link so that we can complete the last part of the lecture. Is that fair enough?
Yes, Doc.
All right, thanks.
Yes,
I'll
sir.
send it in the WhatsApp group.